What is up, everybody? Back with another video, and today we're talking about the Lexus RZ450e, and this will be the first production version of the Lexus electrified Vision, and it'll be revealed Wednesday on March 20th at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, so probably not going to be staying up for that, but it should be interesting when we wake up and see the news about it like a Christmas day. But basically what this is going to be is an all-electric SUV based on the Toyota BZ4x and the Subaru Solterra twins. And this means that it'll likely be the size of a Lexus NX or a Toyota RAV4 type vehicle. And this makes sense for Toyota because they actually control the production of the BZ4X and the Subaru Solterra in their Toyota Motomachi plant in Japan. And as we know, Toyota usually has pretty high standards for Lexus, so it'll kind of be weird if Subaru was developing the Lexus RZ450e. So Lexus has released a couple teaser images about the RZ, and it shares a lot of design elements that previous Lexuses already get. For example, we see the spindle grille, this big massive grille that I probably won't need because it's an electric vehicle. We have the L-shaped DRL running headlights, which looks similar to what we see in the Lexus NX and also the IS. And notice how the Toyota logo on that Lexus spindle grille isn't blue, like in previous Lexus models and other electric vehicles. But looking at the profile from this 3/4 panel view, it kind of looks a little bit weird. It kind of looks like a Lexus RX mixed with like a Nissan Murano. So the side profile looks a lot like a baby Lexus RX, and this is kind of due to the floating rear window design that they have. And the back has a rear dramatic sloping rear window look, along with what looks like a sort of a spoiler for increased aerodynamics. They probably tested this in the rear wind tunnel, and it probably helps with that. We also get a light bar, like we see with a lot of the other Lexus models, as well as Lexus spelt out along the back as well. And moving to the side again, I do want to point out that we do have what looks like to be some plastic or gloss black fenders. The wheel design looks pretty production ready, and I kind of like how it looks with this vehicle. It's probably at least 20 inches. They look pretty big on that. And they do have the A-pillars at the side of the vehicle for good visibility that many Lexus models already have. I also want to talk about this interior. We also got one interior shot of this vehicle. And basically, it has that same style that a lot of Lexus already has. So the first thing that we see is the yoke. And I don't really like how Lexus and other brands are starting to follow Tesla. You know, you've heard the phrase, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. And I feel like the exact same thing applies with a steering wheel. So this does point out that there might be some steer-by-wire technology, which basically eliminates steering shafts and adds on the actuator on the steering wheel and a steering gear. And the car can be steered using some digital information. Steering by wire is also good for autonomous driver because you want the steering wheel to be in place, but you also want the wheels to be able to turn independently, which is what this provides as well. Because of the implementation of variable steering as well, you never need to move the wheel past a certain degree. Most times it's like 180 degrees. But when Toyota unveiled the BZ4X and the Solterra, they said that this would be 150 degrees. I just wanted to point out too that like the BZ4X and the Subaru Solterra, Toyota also offered a regular steering wheel, and I expect them to do the same thing here because Toyota holds themselves to a higher standard than that of Tesla. But all jokes aside, moving on to more, we have a rotary style shift knob right there as well, so it's going to be a push button style. We have the same 14-inch Lexus interface that debuted in the Lexus NX. We also have a push button start right by the AC vents right at the top, and it's probably the highest I've ever seen a push button start on a vehicle. Unfortunately, Lexus still decided to use that outdated 8-inch all-digital display. Meanwhile, Toyota has been moving on to a 12.3-inch digital cluster with the GR Corolla, the Tundra, and also the Toyota Sequoia. I feel like Lexus should have still done the 12.3-inch display, but just make it look as much like a Lexus as possible. We also see the premium Mark Levinson speaker. We can tell by the little logos at the speaker grills. We have a heads-up display, and I also like the wood touch right by the gear knobs. The gear knobs are gloss black, but I'm not seeing too many other applications of gloss black in this interior, so it's good that manufacturers are starting to learn and reduce the amount of gloss black that they're putting in the interior. Even though we have no other screenshots of the interior, I can tell you right now, this is how you make a mainstream vehicle and you put that interior in a tux. I'm looking at you, Acura. There's a lot of different design elements and changes that are representative of Lexus, and it looks nothing like the Subaru Solterra or BZ4X, and I think that they did a good job here as long as they don't include that yoke in the steering wheel. Now I do want to talk about some of the performance. I do expect it as a base model. They're going to offer the same 64 kilowatt lithium ion battery pack, one with a singular motor, and in the all-wheel drive version with dual motors. So the front-wheel drive version produces 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque. The all-wheel drive produces 215 horsepower and 246 pound-feet of torque. The all-wheel drive will reach 0 to 60 in 7.7 seconds, and the front-wheel drive is going to be a little bit slower than that. The EPA range is going to be around 230 for the front-wheel drive model and 200 for the all-wheel drive model. Just like the BZ4X, these base specs aren't going to be that impressive, but they will get the job done, and hopefully those specs are reflected in the price, and they won't be charging us out the wazoo for lower energy, because this vehicle has a lower range and lower horsepower than a lot of its competitors. However, one thing I do expect them to implement here is the Direct 4, which is basically Lexus's version of torque vectoring that would send power to each wheel independently, improving grip in different situations. So Direct 4, according to Lexus, precisely controls the delivery of torque from the front and rear electric motors and braking force to all four wheels by automatically adjusting the balance of front and rear drive. The system adapts to driving conditions, to driving intentions, and that's pretty much what it does. And when I watched a documentary or a video that was detailing the system, they had a lot of different ratios that could be used. Like they had a 50-50 ratio, a 20-80 ratio, and I think there was another ratio that made it more front-wheel drive biased. And this will kind of do the same thing, kind of what the GR Corolla kind of does, but this will obviously be more luxury-oriented driving performance. But this is the RZ450e, and such a high number in Lexus's nomenclature means that there'll be a lot more power, and I expect them to do just that. So, in a video a while back detailing the development of the RZ450e, they have the engineers of the Lexus vehicles driving this around the track, and they are going crazy. They're laughing, screaming, having a good time in this vehicle. And those BZ4X Solterra numbers are going to accomplish that. So they're definitely going to have a lot more power in this. So in the video that I mentioned when I was talking about the Direct 4 technology, Lexus had an experimental vehicle in which they put two motors, one in the front, one in the rear, that provided 200 horsepower and 221 pound-feet of torque each. I feel like this could be the powertrain that we are looking for in the RZ450e, and that would be a combined output of 400 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque. And it would make sense that Lexus would announce this version first, because when you're introducing an electric vehicle, the idea is they basically try to wow the audience with high numbers, high range, etc., etc. But however, I have no doubt in my mind that this will come at a steep cost, and also it could be a little less than the 400 horsepower, 442 pound-feet of torque, because when you're combining, the power of the motors, there might be some sort of drivetrain loss or some power loss in there. But either way, it'll be pretty fast. But these are basically my predictions of the RZ450e that we can take based on evidence that Lexus has put out there. But this is Lexus's first vehicle in their step to introduce 20 new vehicles by 2025, and 10 of those will either be all-electric, hybrid, or hydrogen. So everything will come together on this April 20th release, and I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what Lexus is offering in their future, and what they plan to continue offering as they're supposed to be revealing more electric vehicles. So that's it. If you found this video pretty informative, drop a like, helps it being seen in the algorithm. Leave a comment telling me what you want to see in this RZ450e, and also subscribe. I wanted to thank you guys for 235 subscribers, and every subscriber means a lot to me. So hopefully we can get to 300, 400, and then monetization. So thank you guys for watching. Peace.